Thank you all for your practice. Thank you. Testing. Still kind of high. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I get it. I don't want to sound like God or something. Hello. How would we even know what that sounds like, right? What if I turn into a burning bush? So today I want to talk about war, actually. Kind of an interesting topic, I think. I understand that we're going to be pulling our troops out of Afghanistan. Heard that on the news. I'm not going to say whether that's a good or bad thing. But what I do want to point to is a bigger war that's going on. And many of us are participating in it. And it is really quite shocking if we were to look at the number of casualties in this war. All of their wars would not even come close to this type of war. And to me, this type of war is quite preventable. Maybe other wars, who knows? I'd like to think they're preventable, but who knows? But this one definitely is preventable. And this is the war that we're having with ourselves. And this is the war that we're having with others. But first I want to talk about the war we're having with ourselves. I have the really good fortune to speak with a lot of people who come here. And then I travel around and I get to speak to others. And I'm a school teacher. All I do is talk, apparently. I'm talking all the time. And so I'm a school teacher, and I also listen to young people and teachers talking. And there's a consistent thread in these conversations, and that is this idea of not being good enough, always a work in progress. We're always not good enough. Young girls don't feel like their bodies are good enough, that they're pretty enough, that they're smart enough, that they have enough boys who like them. Young boys don't feel that they have enough money, that they're, tall enough, macho enough, smart enough. Adults, even people as old as me are still working on themselves, always trying to fix something. You know, if we didn't have this thing here or that thing there, then maybe we could be really satisfied. But there's this thread of dissatisfaction that's running through all of our minds. We may be dissatisfied with some internal aspect of ourselves or some external aspect. We may be dissatisfied that we're not at the top of our profession, or that we even have a profession. It's just this endless roar in the background of our consciousness that is like a constant threat. It's a threat to our well-being. It's a threat to actually others around us. As we can see by what's happening in this world, when a young person, many young people, it's so sad to say that, you know, many young people killing others. There's something wrong here. And it's not going to be changed by a policy. It's not going to be changed by a law, although those things may have an impact. The real way it's going to be changed is by people learning that they are valuable. That how we are right now, in this very instant, is good enough. It's worthy of love. It's worthy of compassion. It's worthy of care. And it's not that we might get that from some people outside of us. We have it inside of us, and we can give it to ourselves. If we wait for somebody else to come along and tell us how wonderful we are, we may be waiting for a really long time. And you know what will happen? Even if they tell us how wonderful we are, we're not going to believe them. Even my talk today, you have doubt. You have doubt, you have a list, there's a laundry list. It's running through, like those teleprompters, you know, they just kind of roll. This runs through our consciousness. Well, and you're checking off things that are not in alignment with what I'm saying. Well, I do have that pudgy spot. Or I do have that mustache I have to get rid of every morning. Or, you know, I do have this. Or I was unkind, or I lose my patience, or all of these things we have running through our consciousness to justify our self-hatred. And maybe it's not as strong as self-hatred, but there's just this thread of dissatisfaction. And maybe that thread of dissatisfaction is not so much directed towards ourselves as it is towards others. Maybe we project our inner dissatisfaction onto the rest of the world. And we're surrounded by idiots and clowns. Yeah? Is that what we're doing? Are we projecting onto the world around us? Are we looking for the perfect person that's out there that will be just right, that will line up with all of our notions, all of our preconceived ideas of what the world is supposed to be like? Or can we also accept everybody just as they are? It doesn't mean we have to approve of them, but can we accept that this is how it is? This is just how it is. That there are going to be people who stink. That there are going to be people who are unattractive on the inside, on the outside. That there are going to be people who are hateful. There are going to be people who are old and crinkled and grouchy. There are going to be people who are joyful and happy and free. Can we stop the war already? When are we going to stop? How is this ever going to end if it doesn't end with us? If we wait for somebody else to end it, it will never end. If we wait for the right person to come along and tell us all the things we want to hear, it will never end. It's only through self-investigation into really seeing what's beyond all of our thoughts about ourselves that we can start to get a real picture of who we are and how amazingly marvelous we actually are. When will we get to that point? Will it be before we die? Will it be in 5 years from now? Because this really is a choice. This is a choice. We can make a choice at some point to just drop all the garbage and say, enough. Today, I'm going to love myself, regardless. You know, oftentimes older people get to that point. I mean, like people that are really old, you know? Sometimes like 100, you know, people like that, 108, way older than me. They get to that point. They're just like, whatever, I'm going to love myself. Why not? Why not? What are we waiting for? Why? Why do this to ourselves any longer? You know, the reason this is so important is that we can become this love, and then it's expressed in the world. But if we don't even like ourselves, then we're certainly going to be projecting this out there in the world. And there'll be little wars. There'll be little wars in our household. There'll be screaming about how the dishwasher is unloaded or loaded, who cooked last, when is the lawn going to look like it should look. Little wars. And then they may turn into big wars, where we don't even like being with the people we used to say, I love you to. Because we lose the love in our heart when we're projecting all of our neuroses on somebody else. This killing, we really know we have a problem when our young people are in the state that they're in. When they resort to killing others because girls wouldn't like them, or of course there's some mental issues going on there, obviously. But something's wrong here. We're not seeing how incredible, how very incredible this life is. What an incredible gift it is to be alive. How marvelous it is to run into all these other human beings and to share our incredible planet with all of them. Now this may sound a little hippy-dippy. It may sound... I'm getting cheers from the back. This may sound like over the top, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Because we've gone so far the other way, we might have to let this pendulum swing a little bit in the opposite direction so we can get to the middle, where we can just be comfortable, at home in our bodies, at home with ourselves, at home with this moment, and the people who are in this world with us. There's so much we could do in this world, in this short life that we have. I've just seen so many people do marvelous things. I can't even believe it. They do such big things in such a short amount of time. Some people don't even start doing big things until they're older, you know, like 65 or 100. They don't even start, but they get a lot done. So I guess we can start to look inside of ourselves, and can we just embrace ourselves? Just embrace all the aspects of ourselves. They're all just arising like all the plants outside. I'm pretty sure if this pine tree had some awareness, it wouldn't be complaining about the state of its branches. It's just flowing with life. Sometimes this very advanced mind of ours is not so advanced. We use it as a weapon against ourselves. And then we come up with the nuclear option. Killing ourselves or killing others. Today I talked to a youngster. How he looks so unhappy. And I described what depression looks like. It's a dark hole, pretty black and very deep. And tears welled up in his eyes because he recognized that he was in that place. There's a lot of people in that place. If we can work on accepting ourselves just as we are, then we can forget about having to work on ourselves any longer and just focus our awareness on others. How about that? Because a lot of other people need our attention, need our love, and need our care, need our compassion. We get so self-concerned. And then we get stuck. We get stuck in, I'm little and I'm unhappy. And I'm talking about this from my own experience. Not seeing the fullness of ourselves. Thinking of ourselves as just this little me, can't do anything, can't make anything happen, can't make anything right. And people aren't bending to my whim or my will or my way. Don't you wish they would? Don't you wish they would just once? Just come on, people. You know, it's easy. It's easy. All you have to do is say these words. When something happens, I want them to say these words. Say them to yourself. That's all we can do sometimes. So we can say them to ourselves. You know, it's okay. You're going to be fine. Really, everything is just this mental, dreamlike noise going on in our mind. It's just a bunch of flim-flam going on up there. All these thoughts are floating along. Like the dust motes that you see when there's a light that shines in a particular way in the room. You see all those dust motes. That's how thoughts are in our consciousness. And then we identify with them. Oh, that's my dust mote. That's a particularly ugly dust mote. A big one. I better have a lot of therapy about this dust mote. When in essence there's nothing really there, it's just thoughts. So empty. If you don't get anything else, I pray with all my heart that you get this. The nature of thought. Because you can be so much freer. You could be free instantaneously, in an instant, if you just recognize that whatever you thought you're having right now has no meaning inherently. None whatsoever. Zero. Maybe we could say it in Spanish. I could say it in German. None. None whatsoever. There's no inherent meaning in any thought. None. Ever. Never, ever, ever. It's energy that's flowing, and we give it meaning. We give it meaning. And our meaning is different based on all of our background. I work with a lot of kids. I've worked with a lot of kids in my 21 years of teaching. A lot of people. A lot of attitude. 15-year-olds have a lot of attitude sometimes. And I've worked with kids from, actually, for much longer than that, I've worked with kids. And, you know, it's all the same story, again and again. It's this believing in these thoughts that are arising as real. And that the world is supposed to some way align to our belief system for it to be okay. And it doesn't. So there's this life that's so rich. It's so completely and utterly rich. It's amazing. It's going to come up with the most amazing twists and turns. They may not all be pleasant. They may be actually quite painful. They also may be quite joyful. Our focus often gets placed on the not so good parts. But the whole of it is life. The whole of it. And we don't have the choice to pick out pieces and parts. It's not life otherwise, if it doesn't have the wholeness. Anam Thupten recently used this term, holistic Buddhism, which means just life. It just means life. We're not even talking in any religious terms whatsoever. We're just talking about life. And the dance of it, the display of it. On Sunday, I think I was a little wrathful. Was I a little wrathful? No? Oh, good. Good. Sometimes I feel like I get a little wrathful. And we were talking about death. So that kind of freaks people out. I don't know if anybody will come back this Sunday. We'll see. But, yeah. The power of the Dharma is that it's pointed out. If I don't point it out, then you don't have a chance to hear a new way of viewing the world. So sometimes it feels kind of fierce. Sometimes it feels like, I don't know, I don't get it, I don't know what you're saying, I don't relate, I don't understand. It's fine, it's perfect. Let it be. Let it just be in your consciousness. And one day, maybe 20 years from now, you're going to say, oh my gosh, I get it. I see. Sometimes it takes a while to percolate. Sometimes we hear something at one level, and it's very much a very basic level. Like in the beginning, a lot of people have this idea that we're not supposed to have thought when we're meditating, because they say, let go of your thoughts. But that's just not going to happen. So then as we practice and practice, we start to understand, what does that mean to let go of the thought? It doesn't mean that you don't have them. It just doesn't, it means that you don't care if you have them. You're not embracing them, you're not grasping them, you're not pushing them away, you're not involved with their content. They're just arising and they're ceasing. And that's how it is. That's how life is working. Sitting in meditation is being with life. It's being totally engaged in life. Even though we're sitting here doing nothing, we're actually engaging with this life, just as it is. Having the chance to just stop for a little while and see, how is life presenting itself? Oh, I'm having lots of thoughts. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Oh, I'm having bliss. Or I'm feeling grouchy as all get out. Or I'm a little bored, or a little annoyed, or whatever it is. It's just life presenting itself. That's it. It's really quite simple. It's really, really profound. So all I can ask is when? When will we give up the war with ourselves? Could it be now? Why not? Why not? Leave it here. Anam Thupten gave me great titles. I've told you this before. When he ordained me as a Dharma delivery woman, very succinct, seems like a very high title, doesn't it? Dharma delivery woman. Or garbage collector. So the garbage collector aspect is my favorite. That's my favorite title. And the reason that that's my favorite title is because every time I come here, I pray that all of us have the opportunity to wake up to ourselves, wake up to this marvel, wake up to the truth. And in order to do that, we often have to leave behind a lot of garbage, mental garbage. So you're free to leave it. I'm happy to take it. I'll keep it for you. And when you come to ask for it back, I will not give it. So once you leave it, it's mine. And you don't have to worry about it any longer, because I'll care for it very diligently. So you can know that your neuroses are in good hands, and you can leave them at the door. And so this is, it really seems like, how do you do that? You just get to this point where you've had enough. You've had enough. You had enough with it already. and you leave it. Enough with self-hatred, or enough with, not liking the world and the way it runs, not liking others, just enough. Not liking this or that, just enough. And then the war will end. It will be, you'll be in your own space of equanimity, in your own place of peace, and through that you then influence the rest of the world. And that makes a difference. That really makes a difference. So that's my challenge for you today. Let go. It's enough. I don't care if you've been alive for 15 years or 110. Today could be the day where you just say, it's enough. I'm done. I'm going to just leave it here, all this garbage, and walk away from it. And if I notice it in my consciousness again, I'm just going to laugh and say, it's an illusion, because I know Dana has it. And thank you. So don't worry, I'm going to leave the room, but I come back. So whatever's left, I'll take. Don't want you to think I'm running out on you now. We're going to dedicate the merit. By this merit may all attain perfect awakening, rising above all forces of negativity, going beyond the turbulence of birth, old age, sickness, and death. May all beings be free from the ocean of samsara.